Chapter 13, page 105, Ordinary People. The Christmas tree lot has a sign over it, Furs by Lenny. From two loudspeakers mounted on the pay booth, canned music blares forth, "Oh, come all ye faithful," and Cal clenches his gloveless hands together against the cold stamping his feet. "How's this one?" The lot man lifts a tree from its hole, shaking the snow from its branches. "No, not tall enough," Conrad says. The man looks at Cal. "Tall as you are, Sonny," he says, dropping the tree back into its hole. "You want taller? I got taller over here. Come on." He is built like a lumberjack. Lenny himself, with the red and black checked lumberjack shirt tucked into mud-colored overalls, his forehead and ears banded by a purple knit ski shield. They follow him, Cal stepping carefully on the path of bark and pine needles, trying to keep the mud off of his shoes. He eyes the lot man's thick rubber boots with longing. "How about this?" Conrad says, "No, too scrawny." The man gives Cal a faintly patronizing smile, showing him what he thinks of fathers who let their sons run things. He points out a huge blue spruce, dense and full. "Okay, how's that one?" "That's terrific," Conrad says. "Hey, that's it." Cal issues a feeble protest. "Con, it's 12 feet tall. You guys live in a church or what?" Conrad is busy surveying it from all sides, a smile on his face. Cal reaches for his wallet. "Okay, how much?" $20. He whistles. "Thought this was a buyer's market." "Not this year." The lot man is cheerful, forgiving. "Pay at the booth. Me and Sonny here will tie it on your car. You guys be sure and let me know when the services are, you hear?" Weightless with joy, he watches while his son assumes the burden of this small decision. At dinner tonight, Conrad had told him of his plans for the kind of Christmas they should have this year. Just greens and pine cones, nothing fancy. Lights on the tree, but no ornaments. Popcorn, cranberries, maybe a few candy canes. How does that sound to you? "Sounds great," Cal had said. A few deft strokes and the picture had been painted, as easily, as confidently as Con had scanned the menu and ordered. Hamburger, onion rings, chocolate malt, banana cream pie. Just last summer, Cal had sat with him at a lunch counter near the hospital. He had stared at the single sheet bill of fare enclosed in plastic. After 10 minutes, he had passed it over to Cal with a weary sigh. "You order, okay? I can't decide." They drive through Evanston, decked out in all its Christmas finery. Fake garlands of pine wrapped around lamp posts and colored lights strung across the intersections. It does not have the air of fantasy of fairyland that covers Lake Forest. It is too big a city for that. Its streets are too dirty, its buildings too coarsely utilitarian. Yet there is a confidence and completeness about this town that Cal loves. Too many places he has been seem tainted with that anxious atmosphere of unreality, a one-sidedness of conception, too perfect to be believed. Aspen, Indianwood, Florida, exotic and comfortless, like movie sets. "I tried to let you pick it out," Conrad says. "We would have ended up with the worst one on the lot. You always want to buy some tree you feel sorry for." "Never mind, Sonny," Cal says. "When we're stringing popcorn and cranberries till our fingers fall off, you remember who did the picking." Heat curls about their ankles as thick as water. It goes up easily, fitting easily under the cathedral ceiling in the family room, dominating the space before the window. Crisp, blue-green lace splashes across the snow white of the draperies. "I think it's silly," Beth had said that morning. "We've got a perfectly good artificial one in the basement. The needles will absolutely embed themselves in that white shag, Cal. It's probably flat and limp as hell. We haven't used it for 5 years. Do you realize it's been that long since we've had a tree? We're always on our way to somewhere a week before Christmas." She had shrugged, turning away. "Do what you want." She had had a meeting tonight anyway, so when Conrad met him at the office after his session, Cal had suggested dinner out instead of the TV dinners waiting for them at home and the tree shopping expedition. Now he lies on his back as he gives the screws in the stand a final tightening. Conrad holds onto the trunk. "Some of the lights have burned out. I'll pick up some extra bulbs on my way home tomorrow," Conrad says. The front door opens and a gust of cold air greets them. Moments later she joins them. "How do you like it?" Cal asks. He looks up through the branches at her, a splash of orange skirt and paler orange blouse. Those graceful, pretty legs. "I like it," she says. "It's lovely." He feels a sudden rush of love for her. Gets to his feet, floating and weightless again. "How was your meeting?" "It was interesting," she said. She goes to the bar at the opposite end of the room. "I think I want a drink. How about you?" "Sure, I'll make them." "We've got popcorn and cranberries to string," Conrad says to her. "You want to help?" She looks at him for a long moment. "Of course." "So what happened that it was so interesting?" Cal hands her the glass. "Scotch she likes in the evening. Short and no ice." She swirls the oily liquid, looking down into it. "Not what happened," she says. "What I heard." "From whom?" "From Carol Lazenby. Something is wrong." The lunch that day? He should have told her, probably, but he hadn't thought anything about it. Just a lunch, nothing to tell. "It's not my news," she said. "It's Conrad's. Maybe he should tell it." "Tell what?" Cal asks. Conrad is looking at her warily. It was rather embarrassing, she says, not looking at either of them. Carol thought I knew. After all, why wouldn't I know? It happened over a month ago. What happened? He asked. Dad, Conrad says I quit the swim team. Quit? Why? And then it hits him. The nights he sat waiting for 6:30, the newspaper in front of him, unconcerned. He knew exactly where his kid was, at practice, riding home with Joe in the car, a month ago. And another picture of Mr. Knight and Mr. Helwarth at the meeting. They suggest that he call the counselor's office on Fridays for a progress report. Just so we stay on top of things, Mr. Jarrett. He had rejected that plan immediately. No, it was too much like spying. A month ago. Where have you been every night, he asks. Nowhere, Conrad says. Around. The library, mostly. I don't get it, he says flatly. Why didn't you tell us? I was going to. I've been meaning to. I'm sure you would have told us before the first meet, Beth says. When is it, next Thursday? I'm sure I would have told you, Conrad says, if I thought you'd gave a damn. And the wellspring of anger erupts, engulfing them all. What the hell does that mean? Cal demands. Never mind, she says. It's meant for me, isn't it? I wish I knew, Conrad, why it's still so important for you to try to hurt me. Hurt you? Me hurt you? Listen, you're the one who's trying to hurt me. And how did I do that? By making you look like a fool in front of a room full of people? Do you have to sit there getting those looks? Poor Mrs. Jarrett. Oh, the poor woman. She has no idea what her son is up to. He lies, and she believes every word of it. I didn't lie. You did. You lied every night that you came into this house at 6:30. What do you mean you didn't lie? She presses her hands tight to her head. I can't stand this. I really can't. If it's starting all over again, the lying and the disappearing for hours, the covering up, I won't stand it. Don't then, he snarls. Go to Europe. Why don't you? Go to hell. Con, but he backs away from Cal's hand. Listen, don't give me that. The only reason you care, the only reason you give a fuck about it is because someone else knew about it first. You never wanted to know anything I was doing or anything I wasn't doing. You just wanted me to leave you alone. Well, I left you alone, didn't I? I could have told you lots of things. Like up at the hospital, there were rats, big ones, up on 3 with the hopeless nuts. But that's okay. See, I was down on 2 with the heads and the unsuccessfuls. Con, shut up. Stop it. Damn it, he says. Tell her to stop it. You never tell her a goddamn thing. Listen, I know why she never came out there, not once. I know. Hell, she was going to goddamn Spain and goddamn Portugal. Why should she care if I was hung up by the goddamn balls out there? Christ, that's enough. He takes a swift, sobbing breath, fixing them both with a look of utter fury. And then he is gone, his feet pounding up the stairs. Moments later, the shattering slam of his bedroom door. Beth has her back to Cal, her hands clutching at her head. I won't. He goes to her, puts his arms around her. Her body is stiff. She is trembling, but she does not relax against him. What happened? He asks. What the hell happened? I don't know. Somebody better go up there. Go, she says. You go ahead. That's the pattern, isn't it? Let him walk all over us, then go up there and apologize to him. I'm not going up to apologize. Yes, you are. You always do. You've been apologizing to him ever since he came home. Beth, Christ's sake, lay off, will you? I feel like I've been at a goddamn tennis match tonight. Back and forth, back and forth. Don't talk to me like that. She twists violently away from him. Don't talk to me like he talks to you. He grabs her, holds her, his cheek colliding with her skull, hard. I'm sorry, he murmurs. I'm sorry. Let's not fight. He rocks her in his arms gently, and her hands are up between them, clenched into fists on his chest. She lets him hold her, but only for a moment. Let's go upstairs, he says. No, you go. He wants you. He wants somebody who's going to accept everything he does, without question, without criticism. And you think that's what I do? I know it is. I think, he says cautiously, that there might have been a better way to handle this. Oh, I'm sure of it. Her voice is bitter. For openers, he might have come to tell us, told us the truth. No, I meant tonight. I know what you mean. You see, everything he does is all right, perfectly understandable, and everything I do is mixed up and wrong and could have been handled a better way. That's not true. That's not what I'm trying to say. His nerves are raw. His eyes feel as if they have sunk back into his head, pulling the flesh down. Beth, please, let's just go upstairs. No, I will not be pushed, she says. She moves away from him to stand before the window, looking out. Calmly, she says, I will not be manipulated. She stands looking over her head at the black window, then at the tree with its string of lights dangling loose from the branches, disjointed, unfinished. All right, he says, I'm going. She does not turn around, nor does she make a sign that she has heard him. Conrad lies face down on the bed, his body outlined in the light from the hall. One hand covers the back of his neck, the other is limp at his side. Cal moves to the nightstand and snaps on the light. I want to talk to you. I need to sleep, he groans. His voice is muffled in the pillow. Let me sleep. In a minute. He pulls the chair over from the desk and sits beside the bed. Outside the window, heavy flakes of snow splatter and stick fast to the glass, sliding down to make miniature hills and valleys at the lower edge of the sill. First, I give a damn, he says, about everything you do. Conrad's head jerks on the pillow. He rolls onto his back, shielding his eyes with his arm. I didn't mean that, he says. I didn't mean any of it. I'm sorry. Please don't be mad. I'm not mad, Cal says. I'm just trying to figure out what happened down there. I don't know what happened. I don't know. I'm sorry about everything. Look, can't we talk about it tomorrow, Dad, please? I feel lousy tonight. Everything is shit. Listen, I didn't mean to say any of that. You tell her, will you? Tell her I'm sorry. Why don't you tell her? No, God, I can't. I can't talk to her. Why not? Abruptly, he sits up, clasping his arms about his knees. His eyes are dry. There is a red crease along his neck. He wipes his mouth nervously, staring at the window. Because it won't make any difference. What do you mean? It won't change anything. It won't change the way she feels about me. The way she was upset tonight. She was angry. No, I don't mean tonight. What then? But he shakes his head. No, I can't. Everything's jello and pudding with you, Dad. I can't. You don't see things. What things? He continues to stare out the window at the snow, rocking slightly back and forth, his arms clenched around his knees. What things? Cal asks gently. I want you to tell me. His eyes flick over to Cal's face, instantly flick away. All right, then. She hates me. There's nothing I can do about it. His voice is curt and flat, without hope. Something terribly wrong. He stares out the window now, thinking of last year and Mr. Knight calling him in at the office with the grade reports. Something terribly wrong here, Mr. Jarrett. The straight-A student dropping to D's and E's in 3 months' time. Most of the papers are not completed. Tests with half of the answer spaces blank. Tests not handed in at all. Cal had asked him, why didn't you tell me you were in trouble? Conrad said, I'm not in trouble. I'm passing, aren't I? D is passing. And he had tried to be gentle, knowing that something was terribly wrong. It's not a matter of passing, Con. Going from A to D like this, it doesn't make sense. And they had looked at each other over the words. What makes sense? Conrad, he says, that's ridiculous. Your mother does not hate you. Okay, all right, you're right. Please, let me go to bed now. He jumps up and goes to the closet, stripping off his shirt. What do you think of this, Dr. Berger? Cal asks. He tries to keep his voice calm, neutral. Do you think he's helping you? Dad, don't blame it on Berger. It isn't his fault. He stands facing the closet door. He does not undress any further, and Cal knows he is waiting for him to leave. The snow, piled high against the windows, seals them inside its softness, its silence.